Hi there, it's me again, I'm back. So this time we're gonna be playing a world-class game again, as always pretty much, but I'm gonna be focusing a little bit more on defense. So I will try to explain more things about how defending works in FIFA, or at least how I understand it. And I generally have good results with it. Um, even when I'm playing the world class, I I find it kind of easy to defend. Well, yeah, you may concede one or maybe even two in some situations, but as long as the numbers are for you and not against you, so as long as you don't do it every game and you win, that should be fine. Um, but obviously, it's important to play well and lose even if you lose, knowing that you played well and you did the right things is all that matters. Because again, it's a numbers game, so the better you play, the more games you're going to win. So I'm gonna be attacking, of course. So normally, but in my explanation here, I'm gonna be focusing a little bit more, as I mentioned, on defense for this video. So I always, when especially when I'm playing against the AI, I try to use more than one defenders, more than sorry, try to use actually defensive midfielders, at least one, because the role of the defensive midfielder is pretty much to cover the mistakes of the back line, and being sort of like the person who will counter an attack out of the blue. So somebody who is not expected, somebody who will block a shot unexpectedly. So I like having these types of players where they have sort of like a free role in my defense and midfield. So when I'm playing with against the AI or actually human players, I always like to have at least one defensive midfielder. And if I'm playing against legendary, I may actually even go for two defensive midfielders because of the way the AI is attacking in legendary. It's much tougher. I do find that in the latest update, the AI has been playing a little bit better. Not something, particularly different, but I'm finding that they make a little bit, they make a few better combinations than what they used to before the latest patch. I think it's 108, if I'm not mistaken. I just updated actually. So it's important when defending. Of course, the best defense is being in the offense, right? I mean, as long as you can attack, then you don't need to defend that much. But when you are defending, it's important as the same, and the same thing applies in offense. That's a terrible pass. So the same thing applies in offense. It's important to be patient, and by being patient, I mean not rush the opponent. And I actually wanted to 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 talk a little bit about the free kicks here. So I found that free kicks are very very weird in this FIFA. So I'm able to pretty much score most of them when I'm trying them in the arena. But actually playing in game, it's almost impossible to score. I don't know why that happens. I'm having a tough trouble with them. I may have to dig a little bit deeper, but yeah, free kicks not my thing this year. Previous FIFA I was able to score a lot of those things, but this one I'm having quite some trouble. So even if you make a mistake, like as I made here, try to keep your cool and bring your defenders on the back line as fast as possible. So especially when you are making a mistake, and that would mean that your defenders are less than what you would expect. You have to wait a little bit. You have to pull your defenders back instead of pulling them in the front. That's a very very nice goal here. Um, so I was saying that when you are defending, you have to keep your calm, and instead of pressing all the buttons and tackling or going for the attacker, just take your time, wait for your other defenders to arrive or midfielders to cover the space. You want your first idea, the first thing that you actually want to do when you're defending is stall the opponent. That should be your number one goal, especially when the opponent's counter-attacking. Sometimes it may be even okay to foul, but I would recommend against that, so that you learn to defend cleanly as more as possible. And that was a great stop by the opponents. I really thought I would score there, but yeah, it happens sometimes. There's also an opponent playing, so yeah, that's fine. So I'm trying also the through ball here. It doesn't work. So yeah, you kind of have to, as I mentioned, yeah, it's super important. As you see here, even if I rush, I always try to have some defenders in the back to cover me when I make this mistake, um, or if I actually decide to do it. Uh, I would say that 9 times out of 10, especially when there are not many defenders in the back, that would be a mistake. But if that happens, try to get and if the opponent actually um, goes through, try to get the defender that's closer to the ball, and instead of pulling them forward, pull them back, and again give time to your other players to arrive. I'm scoring a second here. Yeah, scoring is much easier in this FIFA than the previous one against the AI. So not having much trouble uh, in the offense, or in defense is fine as well. Generally speaking, world class is not that tough this year. But still you have to be careful. I find that it's quite enjoyable. I mean, I'm having good games, interesting games most of the time. There are always some games where I beat them easily, and there are some others which I could beat them for like 2-1 or something like that. But yeah, most of the time I'm having a very good time playing against the AI. The second half is about to start. So another important thing about defense is contain. So contain, which happens with the pass button, which is X in PlayStation, which I'm using. Um, Contain is the idea that you are actually following the steps of your opponent without actually tackling them, either with a standing tackle or a standard tackle, a sliding tackle. So the idea is that you are trying to be, quote unquote, be their shadow pretty much. Um, so it's I would say that the best way to use that button, the contain button, is to actually come as close to your opponent as possible. So to in order to not lose them, I'd say. So especially where they're running in front of you, and they have actually gained some space. It's a good idea to use the contain so that you do not actually miss them. So you do not actually go forward while they go backwards, or you do not go backward when they go forward. So it kind of keeps close with them. But if they try to dribble you, and you are actually holding the contain button, they will just pass through you. So you cannot just rely on the contain button. Most professional players don't even use it at all. I kind of disagree a little bit. I'm not defending with the contain button. Yeah, that would be a very bad idea. But I use the contain button again to have an easy way to come as close to my opponent as possible, to mirror their position, I'd say. So that's the only reason why I'm really using the contain button. But then when you're actually defending, like here, I would generally like 99% of time, let's say 95% of times, just use a standing tackle, especially, and that's another free kick where I'm failing miserably. But yeah, um, so I would be using the standing tackle most of the time. Um, yeah, that's a terrible one again. I am really having a tough time with free kicks this year. So I think I've scored a couple, but generally speaking, I cannot really tell how the free kick is going to work each time. So again, I'm trying to get the advantage out of my opposition's um, holding the ball. So if they make a mistake, if they actually try to dribble and they hold the ball too much time, I'm trying to position my defensive player in a way so that they can gain the ball quickly um, and not give the attacker an opportunity to gain it back. So that's an important thing as well. So as you see here, for example, I didn't even press the standing tackle. I just went close to the attacker and just grabbed the ball from him, caught the ball. Because sometimes you don't even need to hold or press the tackle button, just because you can get the ball by being close to the attacker, to the other player, the opposition. And I'm trying to cross here, in this case. But another thing that you have to bear in mind is using is using another player to double press the position. So if the attacking player has the ball, if the opposition has the ball, uh, in PlayStation you can press the R1 button. That would be the right trigger, I believe, in the Xbox, and that would call the closest defender that you do not control to mark the same the player who has the ball. So that would mean that you can pretty much double mark the opponent, so have two defenders marking one opponent. In some situations, this can be useful, and in others, it can actually be very, very harmful. That was a standing tackle here, by the way. So, and yeah, a little bit of trouble getting the ball here. That's a very weird situation, which I think I'm actually shooting, but I'm not scoring here. So, yeah, so you have to bear in mind that the moment you are using a second defender rushing towards the opponent, you're opening up more space in your defense. So bear in mind that double marking is generally a good idea in closed spaces, or and especially when the opponent hasn't really reached a situation where they have a lot of space. And because yeah, double marking can actually open up much more space for the opponent, and it can be very, very troublesome. On the other hand, it can be a great tool if you use it properly. You can actually gain a lot out of it, um, and eventually clear many situations and get the ball back at your feet. So be mindful of that. Try to make sure that if you use it, you have other defenders that can help you in case something goes wrong. It's important while defending in FIFA to always have some help behind you. If you don't have help behind you, don't try to rush it. Just wait for help to arrive. I would say that this is definitely the most important thing that you could do. Instead of going forward, go backwards. Always remember that when you're defending. And when you make a mistake, I think I'm making one in this situation. Again, mistakes happen. Don't rush it. Actually, I'm not, but okay. So yeah, mistakes happen. Don't rush it. Even if you concede, it doesn't matter. Okay, we're humans after all. But yeah, I hope that gives you some insight on some simple tips on how to defend in FIFA. And I would like to know what your favorite tips are. Leave a comment if you like, telling me what your best thing is. and thank you for watching. Bye.